I want to talk about immersion in gaming. Immersion is not fancy graphics, although they help now and always had all the way back through to old console generations. Good artistry can be used to pull you into a game and make you feel like the world you're playing in is real. Immersion is not audio design, although fitting the soundtrack to match the game is essential. A pumping beat or an ambient fizz can subtly tell the player exactly what mood they are supposed to be feeling. Immersion is not story, although this can be used to tie together the gaming beats. I will always smile and lean forwards when a game manages to tie together a gripping narrative alongside satisfying loops of actions and activities. Immersion is not mechanics, although if they are poor, then they will break it. A solidly put together and designed gaming experience is often paramount, hence the dominance of Nintendo and Mario as one of the most mechanically sound platforming franchises in history. But for me, immersion is the seamless integration of all of these. I enjoy Mario games, I like them, but they have never left an impression on me that outlasts the moment. And it's because of the immersion. Because for me, Mario does something crucially wrong. The games have never been graphical powerhouses, but they have always been engaging to look at. And the story is inconsequential, but the context for each game is just what it needs to be. But the games push their mechanics so front and centre. Each level is not a world, but a series of puzzles designed to test the player. It bothers me. I rush from start to end, and I feel accomplishment for getting through, but I never felt as though I was Mario. I was just completing a series of arbitrary obstacles. I did it to prove myself. I was a laboratory mouse searching through the maze to find the hidden cheese. And essentially, that's how all platformer video games are. But some of them dress this up. They use the aforementioned other aspects of immersion to disguise this bare-boned approach. But if you can't disguise the fact that your game is a series of maze-like puzzles, then why not just put a hat on that fact? Why not make your game about being trapped in a labyrinth? Mike Bithell released Thomas Was Alone in 2012, although he'd premiered the concept in a Flash game back in 2010. He developed the mechanics and concepts whilst working as a level designer for Blitz Games, and then he carried on working on this in his off hours with Bossa Studios' blessings. Taking inspiration from minimalist artists, he settled on a combination of rectangular assets and then, having come up with a Douglas Adams inspired script, raised £2,000 from an Indiegogo campaign to have British humorist Danny Wallace provide the narration. The result was an unexpected success when it launched in 2012 for computers, and then jumped onto a selection of consoles over the next 2 years. Part platforming masterpiece and part funny yet tragic audiobook, it's a captivating experience. It has immersion in spades despite being little more than a series of puzzle rooms where you navigate one block into a specific locations via lateral thinking. It hangs a hat on this simplistic design, on the beyond minimalist aesthetics, on the disconnects between the story and the gameplay, and it creates something captivating. Occasionally you encounter a video game that makes you think about things differently. I imagine Thomas Was Alone as a result of one of the most challenging creative writing classes you could imagine, a perspective so alien to ours, it becomes unfathomable. Try this for yourself. Imagine you are a two-dimensional shape living in a two-dimensional universe that consists purely of squares and rectangles of various sizes. You can move freely around the plane, subject to an equivalent to gravity, and somehow you can communicate with other sentient rectangles. What would you do? What would you say? How would you tell a story? Well, Danny Wallace's gentle narration is the perfect contrast to this world of sharp edges. The story is told in a third-person perspective, giving insights into each character's thoughts without ever getting too personal. The story switches perspectives often, using lines like Thomas thought or James felt to inform us what the coloured squares and rectangles are up to at any one point in time. The game is split into many short levels, some of which can take only 20 seconds to complete, but which gradually get more complex and longer as you progress. Every level contains at least one bit of narration, some multiple sound bites, so that as you progress inexorably up and to the right, a dramatic tale unfolds which, despite featuring only squares and rectangles, somehow becomes profoundly moving. The eponymous Thomas is curious, inquisitive and friendly, 3 qualities which, whilst hardly unique in this world, they do make him the perfect candidate to bring about its ultimate destruction. As he explores his surroundings, learning sensations such as falling, jumping, climbing, he encounters other rectangles who, all of them, differ slightly from himself. At first it's just smaller rectangles, such as Chris, who can hardly jump at all, but is capable of fitting through smaller gaps in the world, who regards Thomas with outright jealousy. Then they encounter John, a tall thin square who can jump fantastic distances, and enjoys the sensation of showboating his superior skills to these 2 inferior creatures. Claire, a large blue square with little jumping ability, discovers that, uniquely in this world, she can float, and thus declares herself a superhero, with the task of rescuing other squares from a watery fate. Chris, who feels left out of this group, discovers Laura, who hides a dark secret. The fact that when other rectangles discover her, they can bounce off of her. Initially fearful that Chris is abusing her unique properties, she comes to admire the little orange square, and he falls in love with her in return. Yet, his building love is threatened by the presence of a pixelated cloud that lingers around Laura, threatening to break up this little group by killing them off one by one. The tale unfolds with surprising depth, small backstory soundbites giving you a little context to this bizarre 2-dimensional world without ever telling you what's going on or inferring how it's relevant to our 3-dimensional existence. It handles themes such as love, fear, self-loathing, jealousy, pride, friendship, self-sacrifice and greed, as Thomas and his compadres discover about the pixel cloud and the wider world beyond. The characters seek first enlightenment and then escape, something in their hearts they know can be found only up and to the right. Thomas Was Alone's method of providing immersion leaves a profound message on the structure of platforming video games, whilst delivering an unexpectedly excellent short story to boot.